Hey everyone, welcome. Time for the trail bikes to come out, and this year I want to refresh some of the tires that we've been using. And since we've been so successful in using the Pirellis, I thought, why not? They do have a full line of trail tires. Let me share what I got. Last year I showed you guys the Contis, the Crib Total. I have an actual dedicated rear coming up because this is also a front and is doomed. But on my Santa Cruz, I've had Recon in the back. This is a great tire, but not necessarily for the type of riding that I do with this bike, especially when paired with Minion DHF up front, which I love, but I wanted to have matching tires if possible. And that is why I came up to these. What I have here is the Trail M or medium, and also the Trail R, a dedicated rear tire. And I picked this pair because this is supposed to be similar to a Maxxis Dissector that I would have probably wanted in the back. And this one, the Trail M, people say that is similar to an Assegai. We still have an Assegai in use on another bike. Last year, I also showed you this. This is the Scorpion XCM, not Trail M, a very similar tire. So when I take a closer look at the Trail M that I have in my hands, I'm gonna try to compare it with that XC version of it. The M's are tires for mixed terrain. These are 60 TPI tires coming with that one compound, the Smart Grip. They use the reinforced sidewalls, the Pro Wall, and that's the only option. And I got the 2.4 tires that are supposed to inflate to 60 millimeters on a 30 millimeter ID rim. What Pirelli is recommending this for is mixed terrain and Smart Grip, the Pro Wall, Tubeless Ready. What I like about their labels is that they clearly state the expected weight. If I move over to the Scorpion Trail R, this, by the way, does not exist in the XC version. These come in 2.4, probably identical casing. So you can see here 60 millimeter width or expected width. And just like the front, this is supposed to be for mixed terrain, very similar tire construction. And again, the weight or expected weight in here. On the scale, the Trail M Pro Wall is 895 grams. That is under the 910 that they specified. And the Trail R, that's supposed to be 930. It comes up to 897. So love the fact that we can have pretty solid trail tires under 900 grams. Interestingly, the Trail M also exists in a 2.6 format. And if you look on their website, you're gonna see about the same weight. So if you look at the Pirelli lineup, it's fairly simple. You have the XCRC as the performance-oriented cross-country tire. This one comes up to 630 grams. The light, 700 grams. That would be for the Pro Wall. Then you have the XCM or H. These tires come up to about 780, 800 and a bit grams. And then you move up to these, and these are right around 900 grams. As you saw, very interesting, especially when you look at the thread pattern that we get here. Pretty aggressive. On their website though, you're gonna see a lot of other tires specified here for enduro, e-bikes, even downhill. So I would be very surprised if Pirelli doesn't sponsor an elite team on more gravity-oriented sports. So I'm gonna install these 2.4 tires on my Elite 30 millimeter ID rims that they recommend. And if you look here on that label, they recommend to install the tires, put sealant in, and then inflate them to the maximum allowed pressure. That maximum pressure is specified here on the sidewall, 58 PSI. I would not recommend going over about 40 because that's usually the limit for most of the carbon rims these days. Installing the tire on the rim was very easy. Also, inflating the tire was very easy with the compressor. And here's the two tires inflated at 35 psi's, shy of the 40 that I just mentioned. Obviously, we're not gonna use the tires at 35 or 40 psi's, but I wanna let them stretch overnight a little bit before I measure their dimensions. And what you're gonna notice right away is that these are some hairy tires, man. Take a look at this. This is the M Trail, this is the MXC. The only difference between the two being just the height of the knobs. This is the R that, as you can see here, is quite different from the H. Remember, the H was meant for hard pack. This is a mixed terrain type of tire. These are directional tires, so you're gonna have an arrow right here. On the other side, you're gonna see the minimum and maximum pressure. Interestingly, they consider 29 psi of the minimum pressure for this, and maximum is 58 psi's. Now at 25 psi's, it looks like these tires are not undersized, so 62 millimeters as opposed to the 60 advertised. And same story here with Trail R, a bit over 61 millimeters, and it looks like that the sidewall is sticking out a bit further than the cornering knobs of this tire. Center knobs are probably 2.5 millimeters, cornering knobs being at around 4 millimeters. One more useful measurement is the height of the tire. That's 82 millimeters minus the 25 of the Elite rim, so 57 millimeter height for the R, and pretty much identical for the M. The Minion DHF 2.5 that I have right now at the front of my bike is a 2.5, and it does measure like a 2.5, so a bit over 64 millimeters width, but on the same rim is not taller, coming up at 82.45, even though the rolling center of the DHF is using those visibly bigger knobs than the Pirelli M. So what tires do you guys use? The good old DHF, Assegai up front, something like the HR2, dissector in the back. What about the new dissector? What about the Contis that we tried and we loved them? What about Schwalbe? Those would be the three most popular brands of tires out there, definitely for trail and enduro. So why try these Pirellis on my bikes? Well, first of all, because, I don't know, in using the XCRC for cross country, we kind of fell in love with them. And always remember, there is grip coming from the knobs and the sipes on the knobs and the design of the tire, but there is also traction coming from the rubber, the chemical elements of what's touching the ground. And in our experience, the Pirellis in mixed conditions, so a bit of wet roots, wet rocks, these were just awesome. Also, you see these tiny knobs on the M as opposed to the big bulky on the DHF. That would definitely dig deeper into loamy terrain, which we don't really have around here. What we have here is a mix of rocks, roots, and most probably hard pack. So this might give me a better grip. Same with this, the rear tire. I mean, I love DHR, but it's a pig when it comes to pedaling. So I can't wait to try these out, and as usual, give you guys some riding impressions when the time comes. What do you guys think? Interested in the Pirellis? Do you have any questions for me? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear if you go for the 2.4 or the 2.6 available on the Trail M. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And until next time, hope to see you folks on the trails. Why not riding some Pirelli tires? Cheers, guys. Cheers.